Mock trial competitions test law school students on their knowledge of the law and skills in the courtroom. At the National Tournament of Champions, the top 16 mock trial teams in the country compete for the national title. Coaches and competitors say only the best of the best are here.
Well, it's an invite-only competition. You have to have won so many national competitions in the last few years in order to even get invited. So you're paring down the schools, and then within those schools you're paring down the students. So we only bring 4 students with us. So it's really the top of the pyramid when you look at it that way.
I think it's the Super Bowl, basically, of mock trial, and these are the 16 top teams in the country. It's an honor just to be invited. I've been lucky enough to be a participant and a coach for the tournament for probably 15 of the last 18 to 20 years, and I've got to say it's always the best tournament. You always hit consistently the best teams. It's always well run. Needed does a great job of sponsoring it, so it's one of the ones that you just dream to come to, and it's my favorite.
Each school brings 1 plaintiff team and 1 defense team, so the practice is necessarily plaintiff versus defense. So the plaintiffs and the defendants know their school's plaintiffs and defense case very well, but you get here and it's a whole new ball game.
It's good fun, we've got four of us that are on the team. How we've done it at UNM, we've got 2 attorneys and 2 witnesses, and the attorneys stay attorneys for the whole time, and the witnesses are always witnesses. And so me and my partner Jessica, we switch. So this morning we were defense, and then in the afternoon we were plaintiff, and so a lot goes into it to try to juggle it and see it from both ways and argue with a straight face.
You have a fact pattern and a set of jury instructions and some rules and things that are facts that are agreed upon. It's up to the students to be the lawyers for each side of the dispute. If you're on the moving party side, the plaintiff side, then the other members of the team become your 2 witnesses. If you're on the defense side, then the plaintiff's lawyers become the 2 witnesses. Now, you start with opening statements. The students will make an opening statement just like a lawyer would in an actual trial. You call your 2 witnesses. The other team will cross-examine your 2 witnesses, and that happens for both the plaintiffs and the defendants. At the conclusion of that, the students then make their closing arguments.
To be ready for competition, teams must be able to argue as both the plaintiff and defendant.
The case, it's a well-written case, actually. In years past, there's been some cases where it's pretty clear what angle teams are going to take. This year, it's written well enough that there's multiple angles each team can take, which kind of adds to the intensity of it, because you have to try to anticipate what they're going to do and prepare multiple, responses ahead of time.
Competitors this year focus on a fictitious farm accident.
It's a products liability case. So in this case, the plaintiff was injured while using a hay baler, or cleaning it specifically, and a round hay baler, which bales this big bales of hay seed around in the highway. And the question is, was what he was doing proper, or was it misuse, and could they have prevented it? So.
Before a team steps into the courtroom, coaches evaluate which students will be on the team. During this process, competitors with superior communication skills stand out.
I try to find a person who can connect to the jury, not just someone who knows their evidence, that's a prerequisite, not just someone who can make up a speech, because we can teach them how to make up a speech. We can teach them evidence. We can teach them, the components of what a trial is. But it's harder to teach somebody the skills to connect to somebody else. And we think that's important. We can do a little bit of teaching in that area, but we really look for people who we think already have some skill in connecting to other people and can do it in a courtroom environment, which is different from a lot of different environments.
Comfort in the courtroom is one, a good speaking ability is another, a really good understanding of evidence is another. It can be any combination of things or any one individual thing.
The law students that do this kind of stuff are usually people that are headed for litigation careers. We pick them up in their second year, usually after they've had their first year in school. And what we find are the people that are best at the forensics about how to speak well and how to use their voice and the talents that they've got. And they're the ones that really shine. And we teach them the rules of evidence, and that's kind of, we bring them to these competitions, and they're speaking competitions with the rules of evidence sort of superimposed on them.
Students and coaches both agree there are valuable benefits from participating in the competition.
I guess from my first year, I knew that trial advocacy was something I was interested in. When I joined the program, I was hoping to be asked to be a part of a team, and last year, even though the competition was a heavy workload, I really enjoyed it and found it rewarding. So whenever I was asked to do Tournament of Champions, I was excited and kind of ready to go. I kind of had anticipated working this into my schedule far in advance.
And they spend so much time going against each other that usually they'll make friends for life who are on their team, and then the folks across from them are kind of enemies for life. It's not a open hostility or anything, but there's always a little edge between the people that have to fight each other every night in preparation.
I think that what's important about these competitions for students is their first chance of dealing with ethical situations in real life. The ethics of really being a trial lawyer and what it means to be a trial lawyer, to represent a company or a human, or to sue somebody or defend somebody or prosecute somebody. It's more about the ethics of the profession. Sportsmanship can be pat somebody in the back and say, go do a good job. This obligation goes beyond that. And it's the first time they encounter it other than in a book.
I think it's the opportunity to kind of get out and do some kind of real life lawyering, get a chance to learn the skills of the courtroom, work with the rules of evidence, work with witnesses, learn kind of the tricks of the trade and tools of the trade of a trial lawyer. For coaches, I think it's the opportunity to work with the students, get that high energy level, and have a chance to introduce people to all this trial lawyering stuff.
I think that the caliber of competition and skill that we see at these competitions gives great confidence to the future litigators of the country.
Even those participating as judges experience a benefit.
It's a rejuvenating experience to see young people who take the practice of law so seriously, the study of law. They want to excel. I think they appreciate the importance of the profession, that we have the finest judicial system in the world with our jury system, and they want to continue that fine tradition. So it's a great pleasure for me to be involved with it.
Each team has a different level of pre-tournament experience.
I think the 4 people on our team, for whatever reason, I think we've bonded over the last couple of days. I know my partner, one of my teammates, Cassie, and I were on the phone, we're on Facebook chat, text messaging the entire time, because it's almost like a security blanket. So we actually, I think, bonded more in the stressful last couple of days than really butted heads.
They're all 4 different individuals, just like they always are. They're all very nice people. They come from different competition backgrounds.
Most of them are very intelligent, number one. They're usually students who do very well academically, but they also often come out of a competitive background. Maybe have been athletes, either in high school or college, or played some sort of intramural sports. And they're individuals who generally have maybe participated in some sort of debate when they were in college or in high school. So they often come out of a background where they've had competition previously. I mean, I've been coaching for about 8 years, and this is probably the most laid-back team that we've had participate in this competition.
Keaton and I went to Philadelphia last winter, and we won that competition, and we actually moved on to Dallas, Texas for the nationals of it, and we placed 8th, so out of the country. So that was really good and exciting for us as second years to be able to do so well in our first round of competition. And Katie and Dave were in the AAJ competition, which is a little bit more intense, I think, than the competition that Keaton and I were involved in last year, and they did really well also.
It's always a little nerve-wracking in the beginning because you have people a few who've never been on tournament teams before, so we've got to get through that first rough round. But it's exciting because they've been prepping for this for 8 weeks, so it's so great to finally actually do it after all the time spent preparing.
What's the prep work like? I mean, can you people butting heads back and forth going?
Absolutely.
Practice?
It's grueling. I got to say, we work really hard, and we work them really hard. So a lot of butting heads, a lot of long, late nights, a lot of late weekends. I think last weekend we pulled 2 14-hour days. And so they get used to taking a lot of feedback, positive and negative, but they take it well. You know, they're really anxious to learn, so I've been really impressed.
You know, we only got the problem, I think, 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, 2 months before the competition, so it was a little bit of a, breakneck pace there to prepare. It really just comes down to learning the problem and drilling.
I mean, we go to several competitions in the spring, so we're excited. Sounds like we're going to have a strong team going into the spring.
I've been to a competition before, and so this is definitely a step up from the other tournament that we were at. It's great to be in such a great venue. I mean, Pittsburgh's been awesome.
As students complete each part of a trial, they are evaluated by practicing members of the legal community.
The people who judge it are lawyers and judges themselves. And what they're looking at is the level of advocacy, not so much who wins or loses the competition, because that could be slanted depending upon the facts. Everyone who constructs one of these problems wants to make it balanced, but it's made by human beings. Human beings are imperfect, and sometimes it's not as balanced as you would like. So one side has an advantage, but hopefully the people that are watching it are experienced enough to look through that and judge the level of play, if you will, that the students are doing.
Derek Jones explains the scoring system.
Well, at the beginning of each round, the bailiff will take one of these envelopes, and in the envelope are a variety of different colored scoring sheets. So you have white, yellow, blue, green, and then gold. Each sheet means something different because to keep it all uniform, only 3 judges' scores in any room count. But we don't want the judges to necessarily know that if they get one of these sheets that their scores don't count. They're kind of here not grading anything. So what we do, so we have the 3 sheets then, and after the end of the round, the bailiff will bring these back to me, and then I have a spreadsheet that I made up. And what we're looking for is to see who won the round, but the win is based on each judge's vote, so it's the best of 3. So in order to win any round, you need to win 2 judges' ballots. On each ballot, they give a certain amount of points for every different aspect of the trial. So from the opening statements from each side to their directs and their crosses and their closings, each portion of the trial is given a certain amount of points that the judge can award as a maximum. And then at the end, the judge totals all the points for each team, and the team with more points then has won that judge's ballot.
For tournament host Duquesne University, there is no home field advantage.
To
Do they feel any more comfortable being that this is in Pittsburgh, or is that added pressure?
It's added pressure. Yes, there's no advantage for being here. It's added pressure because you want to make sure that you overly prove that you deserve to do well, so that there's no question about whether there was home cooking or any cheating or anything like that. So you want to completely remove all doubts that you're qualified and that you're talented, and so I think it actually adds pressure.
Participants say the Tournament of Champions brings out a variety of emotions.
You're kind of keyed up the entire time. It's surprisingly intense. I mean, you're sitting in a room just talking, but given that you have to react and be ready to react, you're kind of going for 3 hours nonstop, and it's very intense. In that regard, it's very much like any sport where you're going to be up on a high for a period of time.
For me, I'm pumped. I walk in there and I feel like I know the case better than anyone. I know my points and I am going to win my case. So it's a rush. It's a great feeling.
No matter how experienced the team is, everyone is nervous.
I think all of the teams coming here today are very talented, have worked very hard, are extraordinarily nervous, but are mostly just ready for this to be over with. I think that Duquesne, and my team specifically, was nervous about having such a heavy load to carry, in that we have a legacy of winning at the law school, and I think they know that, and I think that they don't want to let anyone down, the alumni down, and all of the faculty and administration and students. They don't want to let them down, so they were nervous.
Well, that first trial is always a little bit nerve-wracking, and you just kind of want to do it and see what the other teams are like. So once you get that first trial under your belt, you're kind of like, okay, I got this.
Well, like any of these trial tournaments, when you first start, it's extremely anxious. I mean, it's not like it's kind of a nervous energy, but when you walk in, it's very anxious. You're ready to go. The second it starts hitting you, though, you kind of get in line. And the real challenge is just getting started. I mean, just getting past that initial anxiousness, and then once you're there, it's kind of autopilot.
Well, this isn't my first national competition, but this is the biggest one, so I was probably the most nervous. I'm the most experienced person on my team, so I had the stress of getting the case right, but also leading my teammates. So I've really felt like it's been more important. I mean, do everything right, memorize everything, but also help lead them so that we keep getting invited to this tournament. So it's been stressful, but so far so good.
I'll be honest, I hate the time when we're in the courtroom, we've got everything set up, we're all ready to go, and we gotta wait. For whatever reason, whether it's the other team or the judges, once we get going and once the trial starts and I've got something to concentrate on and I know what's supposed to happen, I'm usually pretty fine. But that time when we're in the courtroom before we start is some pretty nerve-wracking time for me.
This case arises out of serious injuries suffered by the plaintiff Michael Vronsky when using the defendant's hay baler. The plaintiff was maintaining the machine when his hand slipped and got stuck in between the rollers. He sustained serious injuries to his hand and his foot. Your Honor, we're here today to determine whether or not the NFTC Round Baler 3000 was defective as designed.
And we're going to hear about the many things that weren't done to fix this problem. We're going to hear about the different things that were absent from the round baler that might have made it safe.
When Michael Vronsky was told to clean the Round Baler 3000, he ignored the instructions and warnings of the National Farm and Tractor Company and those of his boss, Kim Longnecker, and tried to clean this machine exactly the way he was told not to do, causing himself severe injury.
You would agree with me that you read not one single caution or danger sign found on that baler?
I didn't.
Now, you also didn't read the operator's manual, wasn't that correct?
Well, I never had an opportunity to read one.
You never had an opportunity to read one, sir?
That's correct.
At the end of the first day, teams say the competition so far has been too close to call.
I think that they felt pretty good about their performance, but again, everybody here is so good. So you never walk out of a courtroom feeling like it was a slam dunk. I think generally you walk out of a courtroom thinking this is a fight. That was a really bad fight, and at least we tried our best case. So I think they felt like they tried their best case, but I don't think, at any point you can reasonably say we won that trial.
The trials have been awfully close. As being as objective as I can about it, they've been very close. I'm glad that I don't have to pick a winner. Based on what I've seen, I think we've got as good a chance as anyone else.
It's so hard to know. We were told in our last trial that it came down to 1 point between the teams. And I think that is not surprising whatsoever. The team we faced was absolutely amazing. And I think the same thing for the morning team. It can really go either way. You don't know what those jurors are thinking. And that's one part, I think, why this is like real life. You never know what a real jury is going to decide. And here, the teams are so good, it could come out either way. It really could.
There are always things, no matter how much time you spend on the problem, no matter how much you think about it, there are always things that other teams come up with that you think, I never thought about it that way. And that is a humbling and sometimes stressful experience. But you learn, and that's the whole point.
With more competition scheduled for the next day, each team has a different way of preparing. Some choose to relax, while others try to make adjustments for day 2.
So tonight they will, when we will get back to the hotel, we'll probably get them just to change, and I'll take them away from the hotel and away from all the other teams and all of the competition buzz, just so they can sit down to dinner, and then we can, start talking about strategy for what happened today. We'll debrief, and then what's our plan for tomorrow. What we've heard, what we think we're going to see, and get them to bed early, and start all over again in the morning.
Try to get some rest, despite the nerves. Just try to relax and be prepared and be sharp for tomorrow.
Go back, have dinner with the coach, talk about what we can fix. If anything got brought up that needs to get fixed, but just kind of relax and put it out of our heads for a little bit so we come back fresh tomorrow.
After 2 days of grueling competition, 4 teams will move on to the semifinals.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming out here this evening. Once again, we really appreciate all your efforts over the past 2 days. This has been a really close competition. It's been some really difficult decisions. I know right now pretty much anything that I say really doesn't mean anything to you. You just want me to tell you who's going tomorrow morning. But I do want to thank you all for coming to Pittsburgh. I hope you've enjoyed your time here. We've certainly appreciated having you here. Voice up. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Before I give the announcements, I do just want to give a special thanks to Derek Jones. Derek's one of our third-year students who is also an accountant, and without his help, this would have been a much longer process, and you probably would have been getting these results sometime at about 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. So I just want to let you know right now that the number 1 seed going into tomorrow's round is Kent, Chicago. Congratulations. Tomorrow you'll be facing the number 4 seed, Stetson. The number 2 seed is Loyola of Los Angeles. Loyola will be facing the number 3 seed, Maryland. Everybody else, thank you so much. We really appreciate everything.
For the University of Maryland, advancing to the Final Four gives the team a chance to finally relax.
Well, this team has progressed each round. They started off slow. Actually, I think their nerves have gotten less. I think advancing sort of is almost a relief to some extent, because you spend 4 rounds going back and forth not knowing what happened in any trial. And when you find out that you advance, it's like almost a relief is let off of you. And so I think they actually may have less nerves going into the semifinal round.
Turn off the ignition switch. Either way, the power will be on. Then, take out a ladder. Put a ladder on the side of the machine, climb up the ladder, and clear the rollers from there with the power off. That's not what the plaintiff did.
On September 4th, 2004, Ms. Vronsky arrives to work at Mr. Longneck's farm. He tells her, boil the chains of the baler, clean out the baler, clean out the roller.
With the semifinal round complete, the University of Maryland and Chicago-Kent College of Law advanced to the final round. It's a showcase for both teams' knowledge of the law and skills in the courtroom.
Accurate photograph of the baler that you used on the Longneck farm?
Yes. Your Honor, that fact isn't in the record, but she has testified in over 100 cases. She holds degrees. She additionally has worked in the industry for numerous years, and she has currently been a consultant on all those cases.
Mr. Brown, is Mr. Carlosari correct that the record is unclear as to when those prior 100 expert testimonies occurred?
Yes, Your Honor, that is correct. We don't know when.
Both teams battled objections, asked tough questions, and argued passionately. Now it's time to find out who will be named national champion.
So this 2010 tournament winner is Chicago-Kent.
How does it feel to be the winner today?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's for these kids. I mean, our program's been around for 30 years. We've won 3 national championships. This is the one we hadn't won yet, and to come here and win this and for these kids, especially we have 2 of them that are 2Ls, second-year students. This is a phenomenal thing for us.
Opportunity to judge the final round. What stuck out most in your mind?
Just how extraordinarily well everybody performed. The level of preparation was outstanding. The students were all very poised. It's always strange when you look down upon them and you realize they're students, because they perform at such a high level. You could mistake them for people that have been practicing law for 5 or 10 years. That's how good they are.
Announce the MVP from the final round. From Chicago-Kent, Joseph Carlosari.
Although Joe Carlosari was named tournament MVP, he says it took a team effort to be successful.
No, I mean, honestly, I'm happy for my team. My team did extremely well throughout the entire tournament. Every one of us, we wouldn't have gotten there to the final round if we didn't pull our weight. So we were a team.